All right, let's do some absolute and relative change skills practice. First thing we're going to do is we're going to kind of practice on weighted average, going back to section 9. So I'm going to give you some weights. We're going to go homework average has a weight of 10. What is that? Homework weight of 10%. Quiz, we're going to go 15%. Project, 25%. Exam 1, 15%. Exam 2, 15%. That should be a 5. And then 20% for exam 3. So your syllabus might say something different, but those are the percents I'm going to use for this. Now, when we're finding the weighted grade for this person, recall that we're going to take the category average, which is here, times the weight. And the weight is what's going to stay in percent. So we're going to have 73 times 0.1 plus 74 times 0.15 plus 80 times 0.25 plus 61 times 0.15 plus 63 times 0.15 plus 62 times 0.2. Now you can probably type that into your calculator just like I wrote it. I did. And you come up with a 69.4, which in this case is a D, right? That does not round up to a 70, that is a D. So this student with these grades is going to earn a D in this course, which is not bad looking at your exam scores, right? So we're going to play with this in this video. So, if the student is able to spend a few more hours a week studying, she expects she'll be able to raise her third test score to a 70. Right? I guess these were maybe anticipations. So we're going to talk about exam 3. We're going to change that to a 70%. So what's the absolute change? Well, this would be considered a new score. Remember, absolute change is new minus old. So we take new score minus the old score. This would be an 8 percentage point increase. It's an increase because it's positive. What would be the relative change? Well, remember that relative change is new minus old divided by old. So I would take 70 minus 62 and divide that by 62. 8 divided by 62 is 0.129, which is a 12.9% increase. Again, increase because it's positive. So it's a pretty large increase for a test score. Now, if she's able to raise her last test score, she's pretty sure she can get a 71% in the class, right? So what would be the absolute change in her final grade? Well, again, absolute change, new minus old. So we take that 71, which would be new, and we subtract the 69.4 that we found in the first part of this problem. That is a 1.6 percentage point increase. Well, what's the relative change for that? New minus old divided by old. So 71 minus 69.4 divided by 69.4. So we're going to take that absolute change and divide it by 69.4, and we get a 2.3% increase. Again, it's an increase because it's positive. So she'll be able to raise her overall grade by 2.3%. Not percentage points, percent. That's the percentage increase. Write a sentence explaining the relationship between the increase in her test score and the increase in her final grade. Well, basically, a 12.9% increase in test grade results in a 2.3% increase in overall grade. Right? And when you kind of throw the word increase after a percentage, that's where you can really identify whether or not it's a change, right? The percentage, the relative change, because the change is either an increase or a decrease. And the last part of this video is going to be this table. So we're going to find the absolute change from previous year, new minus old. Then we're going to find the relative change from the new minus old, from the previous year, new minus old divided by old. And then the last column, since 2009. So again, new minus old divided by old, but there you're always going to go back to 2009. So I'm going to do 2010, and then I'm going to ask you to hit pause and try the rest of them. So in 2010, that's new, this one's old. So relative change, or absolute change, 9.6 minus 9.3. My relative change is 0.3, right? It's positive. And it went up. It makes sense that it's positive. Now, to find my relative change, I take that 0.3, right, because new minus old divided by old, and I'm going to divide by 9.3, because that's my old value. And I get a 3.2% change from the previous year. Now, because the previous year is 2009, for this one, they're both the same, okay? And for that case, let's go ahead and do 2011 together as well. Okay, so new, old. So I take 8.9 minus 9.6. Now you can see it went down. So it should make sense that my absolute change is a negative 0.7. Okay? Now I take that and I divide it by 9.6, right, the old value, and I get a negative 7.3% decrease. It's a decrease because it's negative, right? And that was from 2010. Now the last column says, let's go back to 2009. So I'm going to use new minus old divided by old, using 2009 as the old value, and I get a negative 4.3%. So the last column, you always use 2009 as the old value. Okay, I would like you to hit pause, try the last three, and then come back and see if your answers match mine. Alright, so check your problems. You'll notice, one thing I want to point out, here in 2011 and 2013, they have the same absolute change, but you'll notice the relative change is different. And recall that relative change has the division, right? The new minus old divided by old. So because in 2013, 2011, we're dividing by a different number, that's why the relative change is different, even though the absolute change is the same. So don't be fooled by that. If you have any questions on how I got any of these, feel free to shoot me an email. Otherwise, just remember, absolute change, new minus old. Relative change, new minus old divided by old, and then change to a percent.